everybody, and welcome back to the Pregame Network podcast. This is episode 52. I am your gracious host, Dan, joined by my bestest bud, as always, Anthony. We're going to talk about some news in the world of gaming, and sometimes it branches out into TV that Anthony fucking hates, but mainly just gaming.
It is related, all right? You'll be happy to know I have absolutely nothing to fucking say about the Last of Us TV show because I have no interest in that.
Yeah, I don't even know what's going on. I didn't even watch the first season. I just don't care anymore.
To
They've
give you
really beaten that horse to a pulp.
To give you the cliff notes on it, they've reached the point in the story that everybody that loved the games at one point checked out on, and despite it being a TV show made for people who didn't really care about the games, like everybody's blaming angry gamers for the reason the show is reviewing poorly now, even though it's just the same story hitting the same hurdles like last time. But
yeah, I don't know. I don't really want to talk about the Last of Us show. Anyway,
me neither.
There's some pretty good stuff to talk about this week, but as always, we are going to talk about what we've been playing first because this is our show, God damn it. And let's talk about ourselves for a second. So I have been I beat Mass Effect 3. I finally am done with the trilogy. Now, I did not get the ending that I wanted because back when Mass Effect 3 was in its heyday, we had the multiplayer component, right? And that multiplayer component would contribute to the overall military readiness of the campaign. But I think they obviously didn't bring back multiplayer, which is fine, but actually it's not fine. I really wish they would have brought back multiplayer. I love Mass Effect 3 multiplayer.
Yeah.
But they replaced it with like the planetary scanning in the galaxy map.
It's less that they replaced it and more that like
Maybe like supplemental.
They rebalanced it in such a way where, because you no longer had this multiplayer thing to lean on for additional rating, they basically added the workload to every other mechanic in the game, and because of that, instead of balancing down, they still made it difficult in a way that I find satisfying, but in a way that blindsided you.
Yeah, it completely blindsided me because I got to the point where you assault the elusive man's base, which is basically the point of no return for the entire campaign. And like I was at 5100 military effectiveness instead of like the 75 I need to be at to get the synchronization ending. And I was like, what the fuck, dude? Like I was really looking forward to experiencing that all over again, and I couldn't because I didn't go around and scan every goddamn star system on that map. So I missed out on that ending, which was kind of disappointing to me, if I'm not gonna lie. But you know, I still absolutely love Mass Effect 3. It's honestly a very close second to Mass Effect 2 for me, but Mass Effect 2 is still my favorite game of all time. I still loved my playthrough. I really don't have any bad things to say about it. I'm trying to think of. I remember having like a negative thought during my playthrough, but I don't remember what it was, so it must not have been that bad. I didn't write it down or anything. I wasn't like playing it to review it. I was just playing it for my own enjoyment.
I mean, of course.
Yeah, but yeah, so the Mass Effect trilogy is now done. I have wrapped that up, put a nice bow on it. And I went to go play Mass Effect Andromeda for a little bit. I did play it a little bit, but I stopped playing Andromeda to take a little bit of a break from Mass Effect right now. I started Ghost of Tsushima. And
yes, you mentioned, yeah.
Ghost of Tsushima is my first open world game I have played in some time. I honestly have trouble thinking about the last like actually open world mission structure game that I've played since before this. And I really have no idea. Like I'm going back through my recent games on Steam and nothing is even remotely like an open world. I guess maybe God of War, but I don't know. Yeah, I would consider that more like hub and spoke. I wouldn't consider that like actual open world
like
game.
at a certain point in the game, you can go around, but it's not quite as free as something like Ghost of Tsushima. It's
actually
it's
maybe
very,
Hogwarts Legacy. That's the last game that I played that was actually open world. Yeah. But I will say that Ghost of Tsushima is definitely a way better Assassin's Creed Shadows than Assassin's Creed Shadows. That was my main takeaway so far.
Yeah, that's something that I've heard pretty commonly because, you know, there's a group online that like they kind of play everything and they just kind of judge everything because they either have a shit ton of money where they just buy everything regardless of whether they like it or not. And everything I'm hearing is that like, you know, if you like that kind of game, Shadows is like the lowest possible version of an open world Japan styled experience. And there's not many, to be fair, but everybody was saying, you know, if you want that, just go Ghost of Tsushima. They nailed it.
Yeah. Yeah, honestly, I am loving it so far. The only negative thing that I have to say about it is that like I think the writing is a little bit weak. I mean, granted, it's kind of a really true to form Japanese samurai story, but I'm just kind of going around and taking my time with this. Also, I'm doing as many side things as I can do, so I can get you know, all the good shit and be completely overpowered for any like main story mission I play. But I think the combat is fantastic. It really makes you feel like a samurai. Like all the animations and the movements of Jin are flawless. I like the way they handled like the standoffs where it's, you know, one-on-one duel between you and like a henchman or whatever. And the skills that you unlock really play into the whole samurai slash like shinobi power fantasy. And I'm really digging it so far. I'm 12 hours in. And I haven't even finished Act 1 yet, so I'm really enjoying it. Beyond Ghost of Tsushima, I have been going balls deep into Space Marine 2 again. Ever since patch 7 came out, I really dove in head first, and I'm fucking loving it all over again.
Yeah, I played a little bit.
And actually, we played that a little bit.
Yeah,
a couple days ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, good changes to Space Marine 2 and patch 7. I still think they need like a little bit more to like really keep people interested, but them adding the prestige ranks at least gave me a reason to really grind out the different missions, which you know, it's something right now. But give me horde mode. That's what everybody wants. Everybody wants.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's pretty much what I've been playing this week. So yeah, what have you been up to, bud?
So, you know, obviously I played a little bit of Space Marine with you, as you just mentioned. My takeaway is, I mean, it's a little different than yours just because I haven't been playing it as consistently as you. Picking it back up, I was not underwhelmed, that's the wrong word for it, but it was kind of surprising. I guess so. It was kind of surprising because, like, we've talked up and down about how what we really think about the game and how it is good for what it is, and it's something you don't see as often, and it's a good game, right? I was surprised, given like all the talks about additional content, at like how little I had felt it changed, right? I
could understand that.
Yeah, like I mentioned, it's like, oh, this new map is good. We played on like I think 2 new maps that were new to me. I should say.
Two new. Well, the one of them that we played in the desert biome, that was like brand new. That just came out.
Okay.
So another one that we played, it was new to you, but it's been out for a few months now.
Yeah. So in retrospect, I got a pretty good selection because I got a brand new map, a map that's new to me, and then a map that was there from the beginning, and I kind of got a chance to feel out like the differences and, you know, where they had been, where they were going. I liked. I feel like I mentioned this to you. I feel like they changed a little bit how dense crowds work in it, which was a little bit more satisfying for like that kind of like just slamming yourself into the hordes gameplay. But overall, I mean, I enjoyed it for what it was. I am just, like I said, whelmed, I guess, at like the changes.
It's not like a super deep game. And that's like something that we talked about during our play session, where when they eventually come out with Space Marine 3, they confirmed that they're in development on it now. Like we both hope that the gameplay mechanics and the progression is just a tad deeper than Space Marine 2.
They need to branch out in quite a few ways. Like this was their, I don't want to say return to form. That's not fair. It's just them reestablishing the formula, I guess you could say.
Yeah, well, it's been like 15 years in between Space Marine 1 and 2. So.
Exactly. And I think that, you know, the thing also, I mentioned...
Also, this is a great game for, like, people that are completely unfamiliar with Warhammer to jump into.
Yeah, it's satisfying enough to keep you hooked while they do all the stuff around you, you know? Like I said the other day, the last thing I'll say on Space Marine is that I really think that, you know, going forward with the Space Marine 3, they really need to amp up both the gunplay and the melee, but I think it would be a nice thing if in the future, like, your combat effectiveness, so to speak, was like on like a scale or a spectrum where you could like lean in really heavily to melee or lean in really heavily to gunplay. Melee in general, I think we've talked about where they should really expand upon it going forward. But yeah,
I mean,
but
there are
overall
some
it was,
mechanics in Space Marine 2 for the melee that like they just don't explain it to you, like the the different tiers in block rating, where they just don't explain it to you.
I kind of like that aspect of it. I like there being a little bit under the hood, like as far as like shit that you just kind of got to feel out. But even then, that's not necessarily gameplay complexity. That's just like fine tuning your statistics.
Yeah.
But overall, it was a lot of fun to go back and play. I hope they advance it in the future. It's actually funny that you mentioned, because the first thing that made me think of when you said like, oh, there's like a blocking rating and whatnot. I just on a whim, I went back to Kingdom Hearts 1 again.
Oh boy.
Because it's just like there's like 3 achievements for performance where it's just like, oh, beat it in under this amount of time, beat it without changing armor, beat it with that. There's a third one I can't remember off the top of my head, but the reason it made me think of that is like all of the weapons have like a detection rating that determines whether you trade with skills, and they don't really tell you. But basically what I'm doing is like on the side I was doing a speed run of Kingdom Hearts. That's another thing I'd been playing, right?
Oh god.
But I really what I was doing was waiting around for Expedition 33 to come out, and basically what ended up happening is I'd be sitting here just dicking around. I'd be watching Luke play Street Fighter 6 World Tour, because that's something we're recording, and when it's just me and Harrison, we've been playing American McGee's Alice. I don't know if you've ever heard of that.
I know of it, yeah.
Yeah. That was very interesting to go back to. It's like a grim dark take on Alice in Wonderland, right? And it runs on like the old Quake engine, so it's like a third-person shooter built around this old Quake engine, and it's pretty satisfying to play. But while I was doing all that and doing all the recording and, you know, just sticking around, out of the blue, we got those leaks and those rumors, and then the shadow drop of The Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion Remastered, which is yes. So
probably the biggest thing that we're going to talk about this week, I would say.
Yeah, probably is. I mean, it's early. There's only so much I can really say about it. Even though I did, like I said to you, when I was done with work for the day, I had it downloaded, and that's basically what I played all day today. And even then, it doesn't really scratch the surface, because this is a 100 hours long RPG, right?
Yeah, at least.
Yeah. So basically, I mean, you know what the Elder Scrolls is. Even though
I was never
really
a
big
fan.
into
Let me preface this whole conversation before you continue. I was never a big Elder Scrolls fan. I remember trying Oblivion when it came out and just thinking like, this really isn't for me. Yeah. I just don't really do well with like all the different stat distributions and like really heavy RPG elements, which is, you know, that it is what it is.
Skyrim.
So I never
speed.
No, I'd never even played Skyrim because I got such a bad taste in my mouth from Oblivion.
Okay.
So I have never really touched the Elder Scrolls games. I know that they have such a following in the gaming industry the world over, but I never really jived with them. So this is really mainly going to be your show for the next like 10 minutes.
Yes.
How much have you played, and how is it so far?
So I've played, I guess, let me just scroll up to the message. Let's see. I sent that out at 11 a.m. ish, and then like I didn't play it for another 2 hours, so I played about 7 hours today. Okay. I was just able to sit there before I had stuff to record and whatnot. And you had mentioned to me that you were shocked that I had, like I said it looked promising. Like you were shocked at that. And I'll tell you what, Dan, I completely understand why you would say that, because as you know, I am a heavy skeptic, and I've been burned multiple times. And one of the things I'll just say right off the bat before I get into specifics as far as, you know, my experience with it, I gotta get this one out of the right out of the way, because it's something everyone's talking about. It's one of the most common complaints in modern RPGs. It's a very modern issue. It annoys most normal people, and it's one of the first things you see. It's just one of those arbitrary negatives that really just shouldn't be a thing. It's got the body type shit instead of female and female. And people, pod people, that is, When they hear people complain about this, they tend to respond, "Oh, why do you care so much?" And there's a few reasons I care, and there's a few reasons I'm starting with this before anything else about the game, right? Firstly, they care enough to change it. Why am I suddenly not allowed to call that out exactly? Because it wasn't like that in the original Oblivion, you know? I don't care for this. It happens all the time. I don't care for this appeal to triviality bullshit. It's so pathetic when it's applied to things like this. It's pathetic and it's transparent. There's a time and a place for going, it's so small, just let it slide, who cares? And it's not with shit like this, because, secondly, it tells me what kind of people or strong presence was involved in this project and what where their priorities lie. And it tells me that there are people... Yeah, it tells me there are people who helped put this together that are willing to make arbitrary changes based on something other than quality and faithfulness. And that, to me, is a big red flag. I think we're at the point where all the people who love to vocally shout their alleged non-positions on this should just sit down and shut up while people who give a shit about it talk this out. Now, that being said...
that being said, how is it?
Not there yet. That being said, I already mentioned this game is massive. It's going to be a bit before we find all the potential changes of that nature. I did not encounter really anything like that so far. So either I'm dodging bullets or it's really just the surface level pandering, right? The only other thing to mention that's around the game instead of in it is that it's something I care less about, but plenty of people do care about this, is that there's no mod support, which is...
Yeah, that's kind of a... Well, I mean, I get that you might not care about that, but I can understand why people would be miffed that there's no mod support.
Yeah, like me personally, I've been more game purist, and that's not me to say like you shouldn't mod it or anything like that. It's just I'm very concerned with the foundation, right? That's where my priorities lie. And the thing is, this is huge for Bethesda properties, you know? This is something that like everybody always says, like whether it's broken or not, Bethesda properties are carried by mods. You know, that's just been a thing forever. The Oblivion, Skyrim, Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas, Starfield even had mods like that. But anyway, does that mean the game can't be modded? No, I've already seen a few. There's even one already to change the fucking body type shit. That was like one of the first mods made. But this is technically a step backward in position for a Bethesda property, so it's important to note. Now, with that out of the way, with the arbitrary and objectively unnecessary virtue signaling shit out of the way, let's talk about my first impressions. I'll cruise through each of the main bits, you know, just what you see and feel when you play the game. But overall, I should say that of all the remakes and remasters I've played in the last 5 years or so, be it Mass Effect, Persona, Medieval, Super Mario RPG, all this shit, this ranks, so far, in between Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster and Mass Effect 1 Legendary Edition. If you consult the Anthony
it's
scale,
not terrible, but it's also not great.
It's also not perfect, because I have my gripes with Mass Effect 1 Legendary Edition. Whole other conversation. But
yeah, definitely.
So basically, one of the first things that a lot of people were concerned about is like the screenshots that had leaked, because it showed that the graphics were very like dull and brown and ugly looking, like it just had a brown filter over everything. Well, but people who played the original, you know, they saw those and they were worried for a little bit. And I just gotta say, they just chose the wrong screenshots to have at the ready. I know they leaked, but like they were the same screenshots on the website, because in my experience so far is that while it is very clear that Unreal 5 engine assets are underneath there, they are used well enough. In the 7 hours I've played, I've been to most of the major city locations, which basically gives you a good idea of variety, you know, snowy areas, kind of rainy areas, traditional city areas, seaside areas, and the variety is still there. It shines. The cities, they all look nice. Environments are varied. I was actually surprised because when it comes to like creatures and shit, I was wandering like the first dungeon area, and I'm just like, oh, the dungeon looks kind of nice. It almost filled me with the same feeling that I got when I played Oblivion for the first time on a friend's Xbox 360. Like I was rediscovering it for the first time, and because of how much time had passed with the graphical intentions, the first zombie you encounter actually scared the shit out of me because I wasn't expecting the leap in quality. So I'm just like, okay, everything right now, without scrutinizing it and, you know, going through the details, looks fine with a few exceptions. It has the same fucking issue that all of these games have, where it's just, I don't know what it is. Everybody in the game looks older. Like it's
Maybe
almost like they said, like,
detail. Maybe
because there are some changes, like facial hair wasn't a thing on like they didn't really do facial hair in Oblivion. I can't remember if it was literally no person ever had facial hair in Oblivion, or if it was just very rare because it was hard to do. That looks a little weird on the characters they added and the created characters. The very first Oblivion, the vanilla version of Oblivion, had like, oh, you know, a slider for age, right? That would add wrinkles and change your complexion. And it almost feels like they discovered a new way to do that, and they were so excited to do that they over-applied it on characters that just didn't need it or didn't have it previously. Because I'm sitting there, I'm walking through the city streets, and I'm just like, almost everybody here looks like they're over 50 years old, and it wasn't fucking like that before. And then I go online and I see people...
They would be dead during that time.
Very possible. It's fantasy. Let it slide. Let it slide. It's fantasy. The Emperor you escort at the beginning, he's like 88 years old. So they're dealing with different medicines there. But anyway, so I go online and I see people complaining, like, if this were any other situation, I would be saying this is deliberate to make, you know, like, once again, the women look old, the men look frumpy, but it's like, it's lopsided. Like, I encounter some characters, I'm just like, oh, you look fine. You look like how I remember you looking, just like with newer graphics. And then I look at other, and it's like, you look like you belong in the United States Congress. Like, what's going on here? You know, I'm like, what the fuck is going on? But like, so overall visuals, for creatures and people, mixed bag, but the environments look good enough and varied. I was very worried that they were going to tone it down way too much, because the original Oblivion had a very big issue with bloom, where things would be very luminescent or they'd glow, and I was afraid that they were going to react to that by making everything, like, you know, washed out or dull, and it looks like so far from my experience that they've avoided doing that, right? Mm-hmm. The only other thing with presentation to really note is, my understanding is that they claim to have remade most, if not all, of the animations from the ground up from like the original data, right? Okay. My memory is a little foggy on that. I will note that the player animations have changed significantly. Like, if you would play in third person in the original Oblivion, it would almost be like a joke. Like, you're really not supposed to be playing in third person almost. Like, it was very janky. And they've added a bunch of animations which actually look really goofy. But I'm just like, I'm okay with this, because it almost fits into the corny jank that I expect from Oblivion. Nothing's too egregious yet, is basically what I'm saying. I also want to note that the facial animations oddly fit. They're way more articulated than they used to be, and it oddly all works except for the mouths. Like, the mouths have some kind of weird thing going on where, like, when they talk, they're way too big, and that really shows on like the animal races. So it's a mixed bag, but it's mostly good, I guess I should say, right?
Okay.
Now, moving on from that, you have the gameplay. You know, when you're sitting in front of it. Now, gameplay feels almost one-to-one. Like, the combat feels almost one-to-one, yes. They did change a few things, like they added sprinting, which is just fucking unnecessary. I really don't have much to say to that. It's really just unnecessary. It was annoying when Halo added sprinting. It didn't work with the formula. It was annoying when they remade Half-Life, or the fan remake of Half-Life Black Mesa. When they added sprinted there, it just didn't work, and it doesn't really work here. It's unnecessary. It's basically just there for people who want a sprint button. I don't get it. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't... Whatever. That annoyed me. They also changed the leveling system. It's almost like somewhere in between the original Oblivion and Skyrim, and I think they mentioned that's intentional, because I think they wanted to curtail a lot of the randomness and easy shit in Oblivion, because basically there was a lot of like exploits you could do in the original Oblivion. Like, you could like get a lock-picking spell and find any random piece of furniture and just cast it over and over again and just grind levels if you wanted to. And I think they either removed that or made it so that the new leveling isn't as forgiving for random exploits, I guess you could say, because I'm leveling up much slower. But when I do level up, like, the stat bonuses seem a little bit better. You know, it'll probably be a bit before I get my full bearings on what's different and what isn't. But overall, the feel is almost 1-to-1, just with a little extra added weight, because all these companies just can't fucking resist adding just a little bit of weight, because it's, you know, that's just how it is there. So that's a lot of the key aspect of it. I will say that, you know, I mentioned jank in the gameplay. There is still jank in the game proper, which is good. Like a lot of awkward interactions with NPCs. You know, they didn't take any of that shit out. It's almost, from what I've played so far, it's very well preserved. Like just the nature and the feel and uniqueness of Oblivion so far. And there is some bad jank though. Where like lighting issues when the game loads, out of the corner of my eye I see flickering, and I think it has to do with, because Dead Rising also had this issue, I think it has to do with original code overlapping with new assets, because a lot of these games come from the same time where 4x3 was slowly not becoming the standard anymore, and 1080p was becoming the standard that period of time. Okay. And the reason I bring that up is because outside of the 4x3 portion of the screen is where a lot of these issues were happening. Like if I'm turning and if I look at the very corner of the screen, I can see like I forget what the method's called, but like when you, the player, are not looking at something, everything becomes like lower quality or despawns. Like I'm almost seeing like the edges of that process. And I think it's because of how the original game was coded with these new assets. And there's like weird flickering issues and stuff like that. This game needs a couple patches, is basically what I'm saying. The last thing I really have to say about it is the audio. It's a lot of the classic audio. There are a few new effects, and my understanding is that they added new dialogue for different races, because the Oblivion game and the Skyrim games, it's basically they just get a handful of actors to do it. And they're saying it was data constraints originally, but I've never heard that before. That sounds like a marketing thing where they just say that, and it's not true, to kind of soften the blow of adding voice lines where there was really just a handful of voices that everybody knew and they were iconic. We'll see how I feel about that in a week. It's way too early to judge that, because I've only noticed like 2 instances of this happening, and I don't know if it upsets the experience. So I guess overall, so far I'm enjoying it, but it is a massive game where any moment I could bump into a change that just I trip over it, I'm just like, that pisses me off, right? Because I've been through the ringer, Dan, because I mentioned, you know, before Dead Rising and Mass Effect 1, right? Oblivion, Dead Rising, and the Mass Effect trilogy, which obviously includes 1, all in my top 10 favorite games. And I've been through the fucking ringer with these remasters and how I feel about them. So we'll see. We'll see how. I'll do a follow-up next time, basically, after it's had its time to settle. And I've had time to properly dig through the game and better compare, because it's not as easy to pin down as, like, let's say a Dead Rising. You know, I play that in a day. That's a day game, and you know you can kind of see the glaring issues, right? But yeah, it is right now. It is somewhere between Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster and Mass Effect 1 Legendary Edition as far as quality. And you know, this just keeps making me think, man. I really feel that remakes and remasters need a separate kind of ranking. I know I've ranted about this at some point, right?
Yes, you fucking have.
I've put some more thought into it, and I kind of think they should be ranked as like a multiplier. Like that's my crackpot thing. Like it makes sense, right? Like instead of the core experiences that are like 1 through 10 number scale, you have a multiplier which is representative of the modified experience of a remake or remaster on the original. So like I rank Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster times 0.75, you know, and then you know, maybe I think about this shit too much, but we'll see, and we'll see what happens, you know, just with the game and both with my crackpot theories of how remasters and remakes should be cataloged, because you know me, the second I find like it's already a bridge too far. I can't recommend people buy this remaster of Oblivion because of the type 1, type 2 body type shit. That's just a bridge too far for me. Censorship and modern changes like that, I don't dig it. Don't buy it. It's great so far. Don't fucking buy it.
Okay. All right. So
that's enough ranting for me.
It's not terrible, but it's not great. Okay, let's move on.
I will finalize this next week. Goddamn.
Okay, sounds good. All right, I'm gonna get into some smaller stuff that I have this week.
Take it away. I've been
Uh,
rambling too long.
yeah, fucking Christ, dude. Every time you just get, I really got to learn how to like cut you off at a certain point.
That wasn't even a rant though. You asked for my pseudo
You're right.
review.
Yeah.
You know that I gave it its due diligence. Sure, I did. I
Okay.
maybe took 15 instead of 10, but you know.
Okay.
Go for it.
God, it fucking completely derailed me. Okay. So
When
we
I can
got a
talk
new
about
trailer.
Oblivion some more.
No, I'm good. We got a new trailer for Doom: The Dark Ages. It's technically the second trailer. I, as if my hype level couldn't get any higher. It looks great. I think they're leaning way more into the story and the lore in the Dark Ages as opposed to the like how they did it with 2016 and Doom Eternal. So that's a big plus in my opinion. It was like a 2.5 minute trailer and it was like very lore and story heavy, and I actually really appreciate that because the universe of Doom is just cool. So that comes out May 15th. I'm really looking forward to that. I'm sure that you will play it eventually. You played both 2016 and Eternal, right?
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, short of me having something to play, I have Game Pass. I'm gonna be playing that day one probably.
Oh yeah, that's true. It's on Game Pass, so that's a plus.
Because I got Oblivion here. I got Expedition 33 in like a day or two, and then like I can't think of anything else aside from Doom in the near future. I
Yeah,
want to
Game
play.
Pass has been doing pretty good lately.
Yeah, this is the like we talked about this like what, a year ago or like a little under
Something
a year
like that.
ago when they announced most of this shit right next to each other. So
Yeah. So we got, like I said, new trailer for Doom: The Dark Ages. That looks great. I'm really looking forward to that. That because it comes out in like 3 weeks. And then I'm saying I because you don't give a fuck, but I got a teaser for the new Destiny 2 expansion that's supposed to be dropping in. I want to say so. No, I don't want to say September because Marathon is coming out in September. I don't think Bungie would release both of their like
I mean,
huge projects at the same month.
Who the fuck knows? Because they did say like, hey, Destiny players, you might not like Marathon. Who knows? Maybe they're just like, hey guys, we got a little something for everybody in September.
Yeah, maybe. Who knows? But so the new expansion is called The Edge of Fate, and people. So they announced the name of this new expansion, right? Edge of Fate, having to do with the nine. Anybody who plays Destiny will know what I'm talking about. I don't expect you to have any a clue who the nine are, but
Not a fucking clue.
yeah. So they announced the Edge of Fate, and people have just been making nothing but edging jokes online. I just thought that was funny. It was like a 30-second trailer. Apparently, we're going to be leaving our solar system in this new expansion, which is like a big deal because from Destiny 1 and all the way up until now in Destiny 2, like we've always stayed in the solar system. So I'm very curious to see what happens with that. The reveal event is supposed to be on May 6th. So hopefully we'll see some new content, new weapons and armor we're going to earn, new raids and dungeons, stuff like that. But what I'm most excited for personally is the new destination because in this 30-second teaser, you know what the Kepler telescope is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like this satellite / telescope was actually in the teaser, and like the Guardian that was flying his ship to this new planet was like using the Kepler telescope as like almost like a waypoint, so to speak. And because they actually like they spent like a good 2 to 3 seconds in the trailer like focusing in on the Kepler telescope satellite. So people are thinking that the new planet is going to be called Kepler. And we're supposed to be leaving our solar system. So I mean, I don't really have much beyond that. If you play Destiny 2, you know how big of a deal leaving the solar system is. So I'm cautiously optimistic to see what they announce on the 6th. I'm not like. Go ahead.
So I guess my main question is just to kind of like lead that thought along a little bit. When you say it's a big deal for Destiny and Destiny players, are you saying it's a big deal just because of the fact that you're leaving it for the first time, or is there like story tidbits that are informing you that have been teased at some point that there's something out there that you guys are waiting for? Or is it just the aspect of leaving the solar system for the first time?
It's a little bit of both.
Okay.
Because like in the Destiny lore, the soul system is like that's where the Traveler went. So that's where everything like really important in the Destiny lore takes place.
Okay.
And we don't know why we would be leaving the solar system. I mean, I'm sure there are some tidbits in the lore that exist that like I am just not privy to, because there is a lot of Destiny lore, and as much as I do know, there's probably an equal amount that I don't, and there's an equal amount that you can infer from the things that are already written in the Grimoire cards and in the different lore tabs and the items in the game that you can infer of like why we would be leaving the Sol system. But it is a big deal because one, it's a completely new setting for the game. Two, it gives Bungie a reason slash excuse to like actually create like genuinely original new content for the game. And it's interesting to see where the story is going to go because, like I just said, everything has always taken place in the Sol system. That's where the Witness came to. That's where the Traveler has been for the past 10 years. Like, it's just been the focus of Bungie's space opera. And for us to leave the Sol system, like, one, why? Two, how? Three, like, what are we gonna find? Like, there's a whole lot of questions that are raised. And for me, as like a big Destiny fan, I wouldn't say that I'm hyped yet. I am kind of past that point in my Destiny career. But I am very interested to see of what they're going to announce, because the faction of the Nine that this is supposed to be revolving around has been this like very nebulous faction of I they're not human. I don't really know what species they are, but it's like they're this like very mysterious paracausal entity within the universe that have seemed to be you know, like what the Watchers are from Marvel, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like sort of like that. Like they've been present for pretty much every major story beat, but we don't know what their origins are or why they're here. We just know that they exist, and they have their hands in like almost everything. So it's just going to be interesting to see what the deal with them is, because as up till now, it's just like, oh, they just exist in the universe, and we don't really know why they're here, what they're doing, or what their motivations are for anything. So it's going to be interesting to see. So May 6th, we're getting a reveal for the Edge of Fate, new Destiny 2 expansion, and I am looking forward to seeing what that is supposed to be. So that was it. That was a very long-winded way of saying we got a new Destiny expansion coming out.
Okay.
Moving on from there, another small thing that I found was a new showcase of the Battlefield 6 destruction physics on Twitter. Have you seen this video? I mean, it's been making its rounds online. You might have seen it. I don't know.
I've seen it, yeah.
Yeah. So this is, for anybody who hasn't seen it, it's just a guy holding an RPG. He fires it at the side of a building, and like the whole fucking thing crumbles. But the interesting part that I am most intrigued by is that like you can shoot like a corner of a building and rubble will fall on the ground, and that rubble will create like a new geometry in the game world that you can now use as cover, or it's just another part of the map that you can now use. Like they used to be able to shoot parts out of buildings in older Battlefield games and rubble will fall down. It could actually kill enemy players, but it wouldn't form like a pile of debris that you can hide behind and use for cover if you're in a firefight. Now, supposedly, if the leaks are to be believed, you can destroy the side of a building, the rubble falls down, creates a pile of debris, and now you can use it as a piece of cover or a different obstacle on the map. I think that's pretty cool. I feel like that has been yearning to make its way into Battlefield for forever at this point, and they just haven't had the technology to do it yet. So I'm very excited that like that is now a real thing that we have in a Battlefield game. Again, if the leaks are to be believed.
Yeah, I think I'm willing to believe the leaks. I think the only concern I really have about that is, I think this is something I mentioned the last time we talked about Battlefield, is like how much of this makes it through the alpha process, because there's plenty of examples of things left on the cutting room floor for reasons less dubious than technology issues. You know, I think it's very possible that this Battlefield will be the one to finally take that step I don't think it's outside the realm of possibility for that. But
Well, Dice
I w-
needs to be a little bit risky this time
yeah,
because they
yeah,
they're just imploding over the past 10 years.
yeah. I do think that if I was to be an optimist in this situation, and I take a
Please,
look,
please be an optimist.
I take a look at Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4 and the things they tried across those two games, right? With things like Levolution,
Yeah.
I would say that the next logical step is what we were just kind of describing and what the leaked footage
Yeah.
appears to be representing. But
I can
depending
only
on how it's
describe it as
leaked,
like dynamic levolution,
yeah, no,
not
that would
just
be
a
a good.
pre-scripted thing.
That would be a thing. That would be a cool thing. I actually remember like way back when Battlefield 3 was like still fresh and new, and there were rumors and leaks abound of like, oh, you know, the next Battlefield's got to have this, or the next Call of Duty is going to try and come back with this, and it was like limited destruction, but what limited destruction there was would have a persistent effect on the map for the remainder of the match, right? And
Mhm.
it doesn't, it stands to reason that this new one will have just full-blown destruction for the match where, you know, it acts in an organic way. I like I said, the whole thing with the leak is I'm less like I think it's a legit leak. It's just a matter of whether it is a testing thing or like a pitch for an idea, like, hey, look, here's what we got running, let's see if we can get this to run, you know, because if it's that, if you're just looking at an early pitch, then there's, you know, less of a chance. But I do think the leak's legit. It's just a matter of
Yeah.
whether it makes it in, stays in.
Yeah.
That
Oh,
would be
something
big.
I actually forgot about. So I mean that was all I had to say on Battlefield. That was like the only small thing that I found on Battlefield this week. But
Yeah.
going back to Destiny and Bungie, not so much Destiny, like just Bungie overall. Um, Something that I did learn the past like 48 hours was having to do with Marathon, which I'm actually kind of glad that I remember this because I have a little bit more to say about Marathon. I'm sure you might too. I don't know how much more you've watched of it. Probably not as much as me, but you're just aware of it.
Mhm.
Um, so Bungie has lifted the NDA for the closed alpha. There was an NDA in
Okay.
place for the people that did get a closed alpha key, but they have decided to lift it, and I think that that is a really good idea because
Mhm.
the more I see of this game, the more not impressed slash lukewarm I feel about this game. Uh, Now, if it's fun, then awesome. Like that's a good thing. I'll play it if it's fun. But as somebody who does not have it in their hands yet, just seeing gameplay from another person that I don't know that is just playing the game and I'm watching it through a screen, um, I don't think it looks impressive at all. Like the more time that I've really had to sit and think about it and to let it marinate, I don't like I don't hate the art style, but I don't really like it that much. But that's neither here nor there. Like I can get past that. It's really more of a question of like when you're in the game world and you're you know boots on the ground on the map. I don't think that it like this is very superficial, but I still think it's valid. I don't think it looks good. I don't like it looks
Mm.
so low effort as far as like game design or like level design goes or environment design, however you want to call it. Um, I am just not impressed by how it looks and everything from the weapons to the map design to uh, the items. Like it just looks very uninspired, in my opinion.
Mhm.
Especially the guns. I think the guns just look cookie cutter. You know, there's an LMG, there's an SMG, there's an AR, shotgun, whatever. I'm not. I'm trying to find a silver lining here. Like I really am. I'm not just saying this because it's cool to hate on things.
Yeah.
You of all people know, like I am a very big Bungie fan. I've liked almost everything that they've ever made.
Yeah.
But this just, I think they're trend chasing, and I think it's the wrong decision.
Yeah.
Um, and I wish I didn't have that opinion, honestly. But the more I see about this game, like okay, so one, the paywall to get in, right? This is an extraction shooter. Like that alone is already like an enormous barrier to entry for so many people because you're not going to go in by yourself. That is just a terrible idea for an extraction shooter. Like you really need two other friends to play with in order to have a good time. Um, and it just
and then that means you have to convince two other people to pay $40 to play the game.
Yeah.
And then if you do really well for like 20 minutes, then you meet a team, you just get fucking destroyed. Then you lose everything. And then like, what did you just spend all that time there for? I don't know. I think this is the wrong decision for Bungie. I don't think that this is going to be a good turnout as far as like player numbers go, especially after the first couple weeks, like, and people realize what it is. I just, not not a good omen so far. I just don't think it looks that great. I'm still gonna play it once the open alpha gets released, and you're gonna play it with me. God damn it, you're gonna suffer if I have to suffer.
Sure thing. Anything for you, buddy.
Yeah. So I mean, those are my main takeaways so far. The biggest one is that like the more I see of it, the more I'm just like, eh. So I don't know, man. We'll see how it goes, but I am not filled with confidence.
Yeah, the weeks since the true reveal have really just it's not. I mean, once again, I'm not in that market, but even for me, it's like, what am I looking at?
And
like
I
every
like
now and again,
extraction shooters.
yeah, every now and again,
no,
I
should
just
rephrase that. I like the one extraction shooter I really sunk my teeth into, which was DMZ, which is probably like a really casual version of that genre. And I don't care. I liked it. I enjoyed it.
There's nothing wrong with that. You gotta
Yeah.
have different shades of these genres and subgenres and game modes. So you
Yeah.
get,
Let's see. You have anything small before I move on?
I can't think of anything small now.
Okay. Well, have you ever heard of Tempest Rising?
Sounds familiar. Why does this sound familiar to me?
So, it's like the spiritual successor of Command and Conquer.
Mhm.
No bells, nothing.
I probably heard it recently, but it's not ringing any bells. No.
So Tempest Rising is a new RTS that is, I don't remember who the development studio is, but like everything about it just kind of screams Command and Conquer, and it accidentally launched a week early on Steam, and they just said fuck it and let it ride.
That's why I heard the name. Now that you say the full story, I can't picture the fucking thing, but I did hear that story where it just kind of released early.
I think that's hilarious, and people love it. People think it's a great game, a great RTS. And I just got a kick out of that. That's all.
Yeah, that's. I mean,
let's
just
see.
roll with the punches when something like that happens, you know.
Yeah. Star Wars Zero Company got their
Oh yeah.
trailer. I just don't care. I love
like
Star Wars, but like it's not the game for me.
I sent it to you. I didn't even look at the fucking thing because I'm not interested in it, and I know it's just. I'm just like I can imagine his reaction to this. And what was it you said? Like, such a waste to have Respawn work on this.
What a wasted opportunity to have Respawn work on this. This was my exact quote.
Yeah.
A turn-based strategy game, like fuck off. I can't. So that is a thing that happened.
Yeah.
What else we got?
You hear Nintendo's, still Nintendo's in a bit of a pickle with multiple legal things right now, or not in a pickle, but they're on a warpath right now.
Does that have anything to do with what they price their games at?
No. That's a whole other thing where that because we talked about that with the Switch 2 release, and the pre-orders for the Switch 2 are back up, and it's just all the accessories have gone up in price, but the console's still the same price. But no, they're still in the process of suing the PAL, whatever it is.
Okay.
The
Yeah.
PAL World guys. What are they called? Is it PAL?
The development studio? I don't know.
Yeah. But anyway, they're still in the process of suing them. Like, right now, they're like trying to file more patents. I didn't even see what exactly. They're trying to file more claims during the lawsuit process in order to crush them. And I think the PAL World guys, they retorted by pointing out like multiple other big games that have things that Nintendo's claiming, like, walking up to something and throwing an object at it and owning the object or the creature after it. So we'll see where they're going with that. But the biggest thing for me personally is that Nintendo is they're trying to force Discord to reveal user information because it's one of two leaks. I keep forgetting which is which, but basically I think what it is a while ago, like 5 to 6, maybe even a little bit further than that. Basically, like, some autistic kid found a backdoor into Nintendo servers, and when he had access to the servers, he downloaded terabytes of classified information.
Oh, shit.
Like betas of and source code of old games dating like from the GameCube, Nintendo 64, Game Boy Advance, Game Boy Color. And they caught that kid eventually because he didn't know what the fuck he was doing. He found his way in, but he wasn't smart enough to, do whatever. But before they caught him, what ended up happening is he spread the data out to multiple different people who are anonymous, and every couple months, like every 8 months or so, these guys convene and they share like multiple gigabytes of data before going underground, and I think they're just trying to crush those people.
Yeah,
either that or
fucking underground hacker shit.
Yeah. It reminds me of a different story where it's just like there's just like a guy who has data on Pokemon, and every now and again he just leaks Pokemon shit. But we'll see we'll see where that goes,
Like the fucking greased up deaf guy from Family Guy.
Pretty much, yeah.
You'll never catch me. Oh god, that's funny. Okay, so one of the probably the last thing, or one of the last thing, again, small, like not as big as the Destiny expansion or Marathon or whatever. Lords of the Fallen, you heard of this game?
Yes.
Yeah, so they are it either already came out, I'm not sure, or they're putting out 2.0 version of the game where they have overhauled like a bunch of shit, and they added a free friends pass, and now with shared progression and co-op, like I don't know. Apparently the game was not that well received when it first came out. So the studio who made it I wouldn't say went back to the drawing board, but they went back and they really decided to like put their heads down and work and update what was lacking in the game, and they're calling it version 2.0, and now you can play it in full co-op, and every time, like, anybody who owns it will automatically get a free friends pass, and you can give it to obviously whoever. But I don't know, I'm bringing this up because I like this type of story when a dev studio will put their heads down, really work and do their best to bring their game back from either the dead or almost dead or whatever. I actually went out on my way I watched like the 6-minute trailer or whatever it was, and it really seemed like they went out of their way again to add and update things to the way that people wanted it to be in the first place. And I don't know, I think that deserves a kudos. That's really all I had to say.
It definitely does. I actually recently tried that game, but it was for such a short...
How was it?
Yeah, it was a very short time span, which is why I didn't mention it on any of the what we've been playing. It was fun for what it was. It's definitely in that same vein of like Souls action games like that, but far enough away. But it is far enough away where it's not bogged down by that, at least for the brief period of time that I played it. And maybe I'll give it another shot if I manage to play it just before this update came out, because I also heard about the update because like the devs put out a bunch of like, hey, what do you want to see in this? Hey, we're working on this and whatnot.
I would give it a shot with you. I mean, if it's co-op, I didn't know it was co-op before. I would try it with you.
Yeah, we could give that another shot. Yeah, that's
another shot. I give it a shot.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah, sure. I'll give it a shot. I also remember it's funny that dev was in hot water. He's actually banned from his own subreddit.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because he put out a poll. He's like, hey, should we change body type back to male and female? And it won overwhelmingly, and he did that, and they called him like the worst thing in the fucking world for doing that. All right. It's amazing, man. That's the small shit that I mentioned before with Oblivion. Like, it's so small you shouldn't care, but we'll ban the literal creators from our communities over it. But yeah, that was one of the games I tried when I was looking for one of the, like, where I remember I was just like, I want a game where it feels like I'm fighting for my fucking life. That was one of the games. That was one of the games I tried, and it didn't quite give me that, so I moved on very quickly.
Wait, so what game, from your memory, made you feel like that? I want like a baseline point of reference.
I don't think there is one. There's no game.
What
Because,
game makes you feel like you're fighting for your fucking life, Anthony?
yeah, I mean, it would have to be like, imagine Space Marine 2, but
Okay.
imagine if it was like all melee, right?
So why don't we jump into Space Marine 2 and just up the fucking difficulty to absolute and see what happens?
Because the mechanics are still, because like here's the thing. When I say fighting for my fucking life, there's a very specific thing. Like, I want a grounded, weighted melee action game, right? It's like, if I want to play a good action game,
Weighted melee action game. Okay. You finish your thought. I'm gonna rack my brain as far as what is out there.
Because I fucking love action games. Like, that's one thing. Like, I just don't get enough because they don't really make them anymore. They make Souls-like games.
When you say action games, you mean something along the lines of like Devil May Cry.
Like Devil May Cry, or like even Kingdom Hearts to a certain degree. You know, there's different flavors of action game that they just don't make anymore. But something I've never gotten, even in the action game heyday, it's like, I want something that's weighted and like keeps my head on a swivel. But it's not like, the first thing, if I lay out those parameters, the first thing somebody will tell me is like, go play Dark Souls. No, that's not what I want. Dark Souls is like a
that's just difficult, like, for the sake of being difficult.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's very popular for a reason, but it's not what I'm describing. Like, I want almost, if you mixed the melee aspect of Space Marine 2 and like the intuitive combat nature of like the Batman Arkham games, but with, or like, you know, the Shadow of Mordor, Shadow of War like action trope, and like, just, I don't know, it doesn't exist to my knowledge, so it's hard to fucking describe. But I want a game where like, did you ever see there was a trailer for an Elder Scrolls Online expansion, where it's like this one solitary knight is standing there, and it gets put into memes all the time. And it's basically
I might know it if I saw it, but I don't know off the top of my head.
This one knight with a longsword just like gets into this like fight with like what I assume to be characters that you can create in the MMO. I don't know whose side. I don't play the Elder Scrolls Online, so I don't know whose side everybody is on. But it's like, I want to feel. Hold on, I'm gonna send you gifts, right? Hold on.
That looks like Dark Souls to me, right?
Like, I want to get into like close quarters heavy fights without all like the stupid, like, I don't know, it's so hard to describe because this doesn't exist.
Have you ever played Mortal Shell?
Mortal Shell? Doesn't sound fun.
Yeah.
Look this up.
I'm pretty sure it's on Game Pass, but this sounds, I didn't put that much time into it, but from what you're describing, I think that might be kind of close.
See. I haven't seen this before.
Yeah, give it a shot and let me know what you think.
And we'll see what happens. This looks like another
Or
good
For
action.
Honor.
This looks like, so For Honor is actually a pretty good example, because in For Honor, while you're fighting with other people, there's also like lower class enemies that you can get into skirmishes with. So I guess For Honor is kind of the closest off of my hand. I don't know. If I can articulate this better, I will at a certain point, but it's literally just like a pang of something I want, so I can't really articulate it all that well. I want to feel like I'm fighting for my life, but I don't want the obtuse like one-hit shit from like a Dark Souls. That's fine for what it is, but I want to feel like a war of attrition, but like in melee combat form. Like, fuck, it's mix Sifu with like
Have you played Sifu?
I have, but it doesn't scratch that itch, because it's I don't know, I can't even get into it because I can't fucking describe this. But
they took Mortal Shell off of Game Pass. You can't even just download it anymore. All right, never mind.
Yeah, well, I'll keep looking into this, but it's literally like I want the intuitive nature of like a Batman Arkham, where you can like you have a selection of your kit and you know what you're going in with, and you can do all these intuitive combos. And I want like the horde and like impact nature of Space Marine 2, but also like the movement capabilities of like a good action game. It doesn't. I don't think it exists.
I don't know. You might have to make it.
Yeah, I might. Maybe we'll see. But it's just like I don't know. Like, don't get me wrong. I can get buying action games. I have plenty of good action games to play, but nothing with like the relenting weight of attrition. You know, that'll be the tagline when I make this, because nobody else is gonna fucking the relentless weight of attrition.
Better write that down.
Yeah, I have to. I'm saying it right here. Future Anthony will catch that, and he'll jot that down. It'll be like, you know how Metal Gear Solid has tactical espionage action or whatever in the title, but it's not like actual part of it. I'll have relentless weight of attrition written somewhere in the in the title.
Oh God. You have anything else? Like I kind of blew through all my news. Actually, you oh, okay. No, I'm surprised actually.
What?
No, I thought you had something else.
Nah, there was one thing I do want to talk about at a certain point, but it's a lengthy one. I want to save that for like.
Yeah, we don't have the time for that right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, Star Wars Outlaws is getting its next story DLC on May 15th.
I mean, that must have been in development prior to the game being released.
Yeah.
You know how these things are, where there's a lot of stuff on the cutting room floor cut intentionally.
I sent you this yesterday or today actually. A Concord dev took to Twitter and was like, guys, please give Marathon a chance.
Oh, I'm so glad you brought that up.
Everyone's calling Marathon Concord too.
Well, the two things I have to say, the first quick thing to say is, wasn't it revealed that there are certain Concord developers working on Marathon?
That I don't know.
Thing? I think that was. So if that's the case, if there are people that worked on Concord working on Marathon, I actually, like, in a very brutal and needlessly cruel way, I want Marathon to fail more than ever now, because like if you immediately hired these fucking people, whatever, just crush them.
I have no idea. You'd have to do some digging.
Yeah, I'm not gonna froth at the mouth over like something I heard offhand. That would be silly. But the second part of this is, there has been an effort in recent months where a lot of developers are coming out and saying, please stop being so mean. And I get it. Like, people can be real dicks. I guess, like me, maybe, because I've been pretty brutal in recent months. But it's literally like,
you're not a dick. You're just a harsh critic.
Yeah, I would say that's a bit more accurate. Like, I'm not like those people online that'll like immediately seethe over individual things. I'm very critical of certain things, right?
Yeah.
And my whole thing is like, I don't care how mean people on the internet are to developers of failed projects. I don't hold back my criticisms based on how mean somebody else is being. That's stupid. That's asinine. That's like the same thing as saying, like, you know, somebody does a bad job. Oh, I got a death threat. Oh, I guess you can never be criticized again, right? I don't care who's mean to you on the internet. If you like, I'm not going to ease up on Marathon in the brief conversations we have about it. Like, I'm pretty indifferent to it, but I'll call it out. Like, I'll say it's not interesting. I'm not gonna suddenly be nice to them just because, you know, people want you to fail. You still have to do your fucking job at a certain point, you know? It's I don't know. There's been an upswell. I think we posted an article at some point, like some BioWare person was saying, like, hey, some ex-BioWare person was saying, don't be mean to, like, developers or something like that. I'm just like, fuck you. You got, like, you know how like, I get it, they're finally feeling the heat a little, but it's just like, you guys don't quite understand how bad things have been messed up to get to this point where you feel the need to beg for people to be nicer, right? You know how much bad will you need to build up to just like destroy all the industry goodwill that everybody, like, to the point where you have normal consumers questioning your every method and they're at the ready to be fucking pissed at you and actively war about it online. It's like, you guys did this. Like, I know it's not all of you, But like the AAA industry, I can't think of like anyone who's not culpable in that to some degree, right? It's I'm not on board with it. Like I'll be entertained by it because you'll have these people come out and they'll say like, oh, please be nice to the developers, and the game will flop and people will just fight about it online. I'm for it. I'm tired of people getting away with bullshit. So it's like, I buy a fucking helmet because we shouldn't be stopping this. Like, if you are doing a good job, just keep your fucking head down and keep doing a good job. Because at the end of the day, you do a good job, and the product doesn't have the shit that's pissing everybody off, you will be fine in the long run. I know you want instant gratification of instant success and instant sales, but in the long run, your legacy and the thing that you make, the truth will out, as they say. So just do the right fucking thing. Stop sticking your head out for an industry that does not need that does not deserve your defense, and just let it happen, because it's only gonna get louder and more crazy before we settle again, and it needs to get louder and more crazy because we need a harsh course correct.
Yeah. Put me in charge of the studio. Of course, correct the fuck out of that bitch.
There you go. Yeah, thanks for bringing that up, because I don't think we've commented enough on that. I think every time we hear about this, we should like have like a 5-minute moment of like laughter. Like, I think every time we hear like, please be nice.
Brains out.
Yeah. Every single time that we have a developer stand up and say stop being mean to developers, similar to how journalists stand up and say stop being mean to journalists, I think there should just be like a moment of humiliation. Like you need to be dragged over the coals for making such an asinine statement. Like, yeah, people can be cruel, but those cruel people, it's just like you gave them the ammo. So it's like, like I said, keep your head down, buy a fucking helmet.
Politics.
It's not even politics. It's culture and just performance, really.
Yeah,
like,
you're right.
Don't get me wrong. Some people drag politics into it, but it is really at the heart of it. It is just a quality thing and a cultural thing. Quality thing is how you wake up people to begin with, because like the cultural stuff, even though I think it's more important, because me, I've ranted about creation, the creative process, and how it's disgusting to me that gets upended. But at the end of the day, the thing that's waking up normal people to this shit is when you are like making a lesser product, and you're normally making a lesser product because you're beating them over the head with the cultural shit, but that's people like to drag politics into it, but it's normally not a political issue.
Yeah. I mean, again, that's all the news that I got. I don't know. You said that you had a lengthy thing, but we should save that because we're already an hour and 10 deep.
Yeah. We'll save that for next week, because I have a feeling, I don't know, like I've had this feeling before, but I think like it's gonna be light this coming week. Plus the fact that we are recording this a little later, so it's like what's really gonna happen between Tuesday and Sunday,
Right. Yeah. Well, I guess that does it.
Yeah, that pretty much covers it.
Cool. Well, I guess that was episode 52 of the Pregame Network podcast. If you are still listening, thank you for listening. And I'm not going to tell you to subscribe because fuck that.
I'll do it.
We'll be back next week. Yeah, I'll... yeah. All right. Well, that about does it. So we'll see everybody next week, and tip your waitresses. Bye.
Bye-bye. I knew you were going to say that.
What?
I knew you were going to say tip your waitresses in the back of my head.
Like what? I never said that at the end of it.
No, episode. I'm just telling you that's what I heard in the back of my head. Dan's going to say tip your waitresses.
Okay. All right. Fortune teller Anthony.
Me?